This is part 2 of the demo for constructing a UML class model. I'm Michael Blaha. You can see here on the screen that I have Enterprise Architect open. I've just started the software, and this is the software we're going to use to construct a class model. So the first thing you do in Enterprise Architect is to create a new project, and let's call it library. And I'll start on my desktop. We got a choice of models, and we want the UML class model. There's a few different choices here. We'll just choose domain model. That'll work for our purpose here. And okay, so Enterprise Architect created the domain model, and it's got a little bit of junk in it that we don't care about, so I'm going to just delete that. Okay, so now we go to our problem statement, and we're going to go through our problem statement and recognize tentative classes. So there is a need to develop software. Software is not a meaningful class for tracking library loan records. Library loan records is referring to the software developing, so I don't think that's relevant at this time either. Library patrons, that sounds like a class. So I'm putting in library patron and using Enterprise Architect. So you can see the box here is the UML notation for a class. The top of the box is the class name. The lower part of the box shown here is where attributes are listed. And there's actually a third part of the box which I'm not using right now, and that can store operations. So we have library patron as a class. The usual convention with UML, as you can see, I use singular for the class name. And the other convention is the first letter is usually capitalized. You can see the mixed case convention that's often used in the object-oriented world. So library patrons may borrow books. Let's put in book. Can borrow books, magazines, a compact disc, I'm just moving things around to make more space on the screen. Okay, I didn't mean that. And then audio tapes. Let's put an audio tape. So library patrons must borrow books, magazines, compact discs, and audio tapes. A library these are all tentative classes, and we'll refine this as we progress with the model. A library must manage each copy of a library item. So we have library item, and you can see I'm focusing on nouns and noun library item. I'm focusing on nouns and noun phrases mostly. And copy of a library item. For example, a library may have 5 copies of the books The Grapes of Wrath. So you can see here I'm listing classes which are at the description plane, and the example is referring to objects which are at the occurrence plane. In object-oriented jargon, an object is an instance of a class. The class is a descriptor that describes a collection of objects. So each borrower, which is the same as a library patron, has a library card. Each type of library item, so library item type, each type of library item has a standard checkout period and maximum number of renewals. Where you can, by inspection, we can see that standard checkout period describes library item and maximum number of renewals describes library items, so those are attributes. And you can see here we're really not focused much on attributes at this time, but Given that these are apparent, we might as well record them. So I'm listing an attribute and then another attribute. For example, once again, now we're in the object plane. Children's books may be checked out for a month, while adult books may be checked out for only 2 weeks. Ordinary books can be renewed once. Books with a pending request. Okay, pending request is something new. Books with a pending request may not be renewed. The system must record the actual return date and any fine that was paid. So we'll stop here. So this is seeding the model with some tentative classes. You can see it's relatively easy to get started.